Hello.
Hello.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's a little after 7. We're going to start with the April 14th regular meeting of the Scotia Village Board of Trustees. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see such a large crowd. Clerk, call the roll if you could.
Here.
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 Here. Here. So since we have so many people, we're going to try to organize it a little bit. The meeting is in several different pieces. People will have a chance to speak a number of times. So let me describe how we're going to try to have it. So the first item is called the regular privilege of the floor that we have at every meeting. If you wish to speak about anything relating to the village business, you're welcome to come up to the microphone or send us a note in the chat if you're on Zoom, and we'll recognize you and you can speak. Then there will be, we have a number of items after that. The first being the budget, which has a public hearing, and then 5 or 6 local laws, which each have separate public hearings. So if you want to speak about the speed limits at the park, we'll give you a chance when that comes up on the comes around on the rotation. But each time we're gonna I think the way we'll do it, we did not have a sign up since it's complicated with so many different public hearings. So the people in the room, if anybody wants to speak on a particular issue, you can raise your hand. I'll recognize you going around the room in some sort of, I hope, logical order. And then the same thing with the people on Zoom. If you can put your name in the chat, we'll admit you in the order they show up on our screen. So we're starting off with item number 3, the privilege of the floor. Is there anybody like to be heard on any general issues for the Village of Scotia?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I have some comments and concerns about more than one of these.
You can come up as many times as you want,
Okay,
but do them to the specific one.
okay.
Yeah. It's recording. So
I don't see anyone in the chat for privilege of floor.
I don't either. Okay, so we'll close privilege of the floor, and then we will we'll talk about the 2021-2022 village budget. So excuse me a minute to see if I can get the technology right here. Okay, so this year we are in a a particularly uncomfortable position of having less income and more expenses. We have, the village board has worked very hard with all the departments to try to keep their spending to a minimum. We have a number of obligations to the employees and the vendors and things like that. And a lot of expenses. So this year we had we had several increases that were beyond our control with the state pension went up by $223,000. They tell us every year what we have to pay, and we have to pay it. We had COVID related expenses, loss of revenue, both to the tune of around $105,000. So it's been a difficult year. So let's see. How do I? So here are the numbers. Can you see that? Is it on the screen? All right.
Yes.
You guys see it? Okay. So the way this looks is the left-hand column is last year's budget as adopted. The middle column is what we're proposing, and the right-hand column is how that changes. So you can see the expenditures are up by 3.2%. The revenues are down by 6.34%. The use of fund balance is the same. The property tax levy is all we have to balance the whole equation. And our assessment is up just a little bit. So the tax levy and the rate per thousand are tied together, but they're not exactly the same ever. So this is what's happened over the last 10 years to the cost for providing village services. They keep going up, and it's relatively regular, but always in that direction, it seems. This is a screen that shows where we get the cash to run the village. Is that so we have a number of things that the county gives us. Sales tax. The pilot agreements are like taxes, but they're a fixed rate for development things. Like the example is the 25 Mohawk Avenue down here, the new building. They have a number of years where they have an agreement that they won't pay taxes, but they'll pay a certain amount to the village. Baptist Retirement Center is on the same sort of thing. So it's a fixed rate, and it's not something we can change like taxes. The fund balance is is money we collected in taxes in other years that we have to use now, but it's still tax money. And then the property taxes is the thing that's what everybody's concerned about. So So this is a chart showing what's happened with each of the different, so the three lines, the three bottom lines are the revenue, the use of fund, the bottom one is use of fund balance. The red one is the revenue from sales tax and like that. And the purple one is the tax levy. And those three together are what make up, I mean, the top is the expenses, but those three have to balance the top one. Or we go into, you know, we're not allowed to go into debt. So,
Put that up there? No. Oh,
thank you. These for fun are the healthcare expenses over the last almost 10 years. They keep going up regularly. Retirement contribution. This is probably the biggest thing for us, because the state didn't used to charge the municipalities for that. So you can see in 2003, it's at 0. And now we're very close to $1 million. And it's something that we don't have any input in. They just tell us what to pay, and we have to do it. So this one is personnel costs. It's really it's gone up some, but it's pretty flat, a flat line. They would like to see it more than that, but we've kept relatively even. So this is what we have. So the board's belief is that the majority of the people in the village, and we will listen to you tonight and see if we still think that's true, but the majority of people in the village are appreciative of the village services and don't want to give anything up. Our budget is all about services, and there's very little else. That's there's certainly no fat, and there's so we but the question is always, you want your taxes cut, fine, what services would you like to do without? We you know, we're very proud of our police department. They can, you know, if you have trouble, the police department can get any place in the village within a couple of minutes, and they're also very sensitive to people's needs, or we feel like I mean, we did have a active police review committee, but we don't feel like that our police are going to go around shooting anybody, no matter what their color is. So we're really proud of them. That our fire department is the best around. If you need if you have a fire, or if you need medical attention, we can get there within just a couple of minutes. We frequently go to somebody's house and they say, "How'd you get here so fast?" Yeah, the public works is, you know, plowing the roads, keeping the streets clean, picking up you know, down tree branches and that sort of thing after a storm. The guys are just amazing. I just and they're so versatile too. We got we had a fire in the cable to the electric car chargers at Christmas time, and it took us a while to get the contractor to come fix it, but the DPW guys helped by exposing the problem, and they were there doing everything. They dug it up, and then just recently, and then the power company got the thing hooked back up again, they came and put it back together, and it looks like it never happened. There's fresh concrete, looked like it was poured by any mason in the world, and it's just beautiful. And the parks, we are so proud of our parks. You know, it's just and people are. I was down there on Saturday. It just packed with people. All this costs money. I hate to say. So anything we need to any percent of taxes, 1% of taxes is around $50,000. So if we have, if we cut out one service that costs $50,000, we save taxes, but we don't have that service anymore. So keep that in mind when you comment, and we'll. This is a pie chart of just saying where a typical tax dollar go, or standard tax dollar goes, so that the fire and police are more than half of the expense. DPW and park are there, and then the rest are you can see, but the money is not going to anything untoward. So I think we are ready to do a public hearing. No, there's no sign up sheet. So if you would like to speak at the public hearing for the budget, if you could raise your hand in the audience here. And if you would like to speak toward the budget in the Zoom crowd, send us a note in the chat, and we'll call on you when your turn comes up. No, we'll just do it. So does anybody like to speak on the budget? Okay, you first, Maggie. So come up to the podium. You say your full name and address if you could, and say whatever you like.
Sure.
I think if you don't mind taking your mask off, we can hear you better. You're far enough away. If you do want to leave it on, that's fine.
I've got no problem projecting, but
Okay.
if you want to see my pretty face, that's fine too. My name is Margaret Walday. I just kind of had a question, actually. I found it a little bit odd that you brought up the police review board. Like, was that an expense, or what was?
No, I was just saying how good they were.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of, it's just kind of confusing to me that the village is less than 2 square miles large and we have our own police force. Like, I understand that there's crime, but we have sheriffs, we have state troopers, we have Glenville police. Like, what was nothing? I mean, hi guys, I like you. But like,
and you want to get out of the room safely, huh? I said they were nice.
well, yeah, but that's just kind of a question for me, because like, what would the response time for the Glenville police officers be to Scotia?
I guess so this, I'm sorry, I was supposed to introduce this a little better, but the public hearing is for us to hear you. It's not really a back and forth thing. So we shouldn't be doing that.
So we can't get answers.
So you can get an answer, but can you call me tomorrow and get it?
I mean, sure, that's fine.
That's easy. Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you a card.
Cool. Okay. Can I
Sorry?
publish that response? I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
If you ask a question, you let us know the answer.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, that's all. I wasn't even gonna speak at that point. I just wanted
Okay.
to ask if that was an expense, but
Okay, it's a very long answer, so.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. We've worked hard on that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard? Sure, come on up.
Pull this down if that's all right. Good evening,
Hi.
Mr. Mayor, trustees of the board.
Hi.
My name's Alexander Burns. I live at 8 Irving Road in the village.
Hi.
I'm here tonight as a concerned homeowner. I purchased my home in the village 5 years and a couple days ago. This is the third consecutive year that the village board is voting to override the tax cap. And in layman's terms, the tax cap legislation, it basically sets a limit on the amount of money a municipality can raise property taxes versus the prior year. So it also provides the general public a mechanism to understand if their elected officials are preparing budgets in a financially sensible way by staying under the cap. So as this is third year in a row that the village is voting to override the state issued tax cap, I think it's a wake up call to many of us that Scotia has some problems that need to be addressed. It's a wake up call to me. I would say like the first year, eyebrow raised, second year, eyes open, third year, I'm here to say hello. So, the tax cap is generally around 2%. In the village budget year 2020, we saw the tax levy increase 4.22%. And then in the 2021 budget, we saw that levy go up 6.19%. And now in this budget, we're seeing the levy for the coming year increasing 7.53%. So I think most people understand that that path is not a good look.
I
In
tried to
addition-
turn it up, but didn't do anything.
In addition to the levy increase, as was pointed out in your slide, the tax rate has also increased each and every year. So that rate has increased between 4.98%, then 4.92. And now this year we're looking at 7.19. So I would just like to say, tax rate are growing each and every year, and the current board has offered no suggestion as a way to slow down the increases. So this kind of identifies a couple problems. The first problem we see is there are no additional revenues that we can find for this village. There is no industry in the village limits. There is no available land to expand the tax base, and our current commercial tax base is small. So what does this mean? I think it translates to all services in this village are funded by its current homeowners through property taxes. There is no other way for us to get money. So now we know that the only way to raise revenues is to increase property taxes on homeowners like myself. So we have to look elsewhere. Where can we look? We look to the expenditures. As you pointed out, those are on the increase each and every year. For our village, I think we have way too many expenses. These are permanent expenses. They're not one-offs. This is the reason we have seen the tax cap be exceeded each and every year. I have to question why we need so many services when we have no industrial base and little commercial base, as was mentioned in the letter you sent out to us. So, excuse me. On top of those current budgetary expenses, we're also being asked to take an additional expense to pay for a loan to build a new fire station, which I really do believe we need. This will increase our tax payments nearly 13%, and that obligation will remain on homeowners for 24 years. Based on our village financial history, we know that on top of that obligation, we'll also look at 4 to 7% increases in our property taxes year over year. That's on top of what we'll have to pay for a new fire station. How long can this possibly hold? The village has let things be run down in the past 100 years. There's a financial mess that we have, and now it's up to me, a new homeowner, to pay for all the damage caused. How is that fair? especially when the common theme is that services will continue and our taxes will continue to go up. When we question the ever-growing taxes, I feel like the response from our mayor, Mr. Mayor, is, well, if you don't like it, you could move. So, I'm kind of back to the main problem that I see, that we're continuing to see tax increases. There are some solutions. We could look at combining services with a nearby municipality, the town of Glenville. I was kind of curious on this. So I looked up a house like mine with the same assessed value in the town of Glenville would pay a little over $1,000 less in annual property taxes. That's a significant amount of money. So I question, okay, if I can save $1,000 or if I'm paying $1,000 more to live in the village versus the town, what services does the village provide that the town does not offer? From my view, the town would offer the same services: police, public works, parks. In consolidating into one government that has room to grow revenue, we'd set ourselves on a better financial footing. Without exploring ways to either cut services, which the board indicates is not something residents want, or if we don't look at exploring ways to consolidate services, which the board does not want to explore, we are on a path of steady tax increases to make us the highest tax municipality in the capital region. Is that what the residents want our claim to fame to be? Highest tax municipality in the capital region? I urge the village board to start exploring solutions to our never-ending tax increases. I understand that this isn't an easy task. As a resident who cares about our community as much as you all do, we need to start acting in financially sensible ways. We need the village government to start communicating with us and being transparent about the challenges we face. It's unfortunate. We have no easy choices. We have to start making difficult decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Step right up.
We have one on.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do Zoom after. Yeah.
Mike Trelli, I live around the corner from Alex, at 26 Sunnyside. Alex, you did a fantastic job. You should be very proud of yourself. That was well written, tremendously more than what I'm going to accomplish right now. Everything that he said is 1,000% true. It's resounding. The way that the village is run can't last forever. No matter how you look at the slides, the expenses always increasing. It's not sensible. You can argue it, you can laugh at it, you can make jokes about it. The one thing that I want to know is who are the people that say it's worth $1 million for the 40 employees? Who are the people that said that was okay? I want to talk to them because everyone in my circle and everybody that I talk to says, hey, let's get the taxes down and make Scotia a place that people want to move to. Right now, people don't move here because of the taxes. You guys are going backwards. You have failed. And I'm sorry to say that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we have, oh, sure, come up. We'll even take people from Saratoga.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for saying that. My name is Keith Phillips. I'm president of the Scotia Firefighters Association. Good evening, everybody. I'm here today because in recent days, because of the mayor's email announcing tonight's meeting, it caused several social media posts, including one blaming our firefighter contract as the cause for the proposed tax increase. As a public servant and a union leader, I enjoy a good debate and encourage all to participate in civics. But that can only be done if we all have the same facts and we're properly educated. The social media posts and many of the subsequent comments had several mischaracterizations, false statements, and straight up lies. I want to make sure that we all have the facts so that we can be educated and have an educated discussion, since I'm pretty sure there was a lack of communication and clarity on the topic originally. The village and the union negotiating teams agreed to a 5-year contract. It included 2% salary increases for those years in exchange for increases in healthcare premiums for some of our members. This was a similar deal that the village made with other unions in the village. From this deal, the union asked the village to make further concessions from us, which included some 0% salary increases and cuts in other stipends to pay for costs related to a new retirement plan. After a year of calling in economic experts and crunching numbers to ensure village residents were not paying a penny more for this plan, both sides agreed and the contract was approved. The Scotia firefighters fully paid for this new plan, and the monies already being offered from the village. There were no additional or above and beyond deals made. As the mayor already hinted to tonight a little bit, and maybe some other board members will say tonight, and was outlined in a recent Schenectady Gazette article, state pension costs are tied to the stock market. With COVID-19 causing a downturn in the market, state retirement costs are rising across the state. 11% for non-uniform employees and 14% for uniform employees. Once this plan that we put forth and was agreed to is paid off, the village will forever continue to make out on this deal, as those concessions we made will lead to tens of thousands of dollars in savings each year for the village of Scotia. Beyond the money saving, which I'm sure that's all anybody cares about in this room, which is fine, it leveled the benefits package with our other neighboring municipal fire departments, making the village of Scotia a more competitive location for quality candidates in the market. In recent years, the department has observed a decline in qualified applicants for the position of firefighter, mainly due to our inability to be competitive in the market. We used to have dozens and dozens of people on the list, and now we're down to about a handful. We applaud the village board members who took the time to understand these changes, review the numbers, and recognize the benefits for the village and its residents. Further comments in this post, like this is the gold standard retirement plans. This retirement plan has been voted down several times by their village boards, and that the board members are giving significant pension benefits to their friends are just 100% false. This is not the gold standard retirement plans. This plan is the normal plan. Of our 14 neighboring professional fire departments in the capital region, 11 of them have this retirement plan. And several of those have additional retirement benefits that our members don't have and we're never going to seek. A new retirement plan for the fire department has never come up for vote by the village board, at least not as far back as our research can go, which is about 30 years. Saying otherwise is just a lie. This contract agreement was mutually beneficial. This was a mutual beneficial agreement for the village and its firefighters, not board members giving significant pension benefits to their friends. While I value the good working relationship we have with the village board, along with all the village employees in the village, the board and its employees are not friends. There's no backroom deals being made among friends here. The board members don't know my family or our interests or hang out with us on our days off. They know us as firefighters. I would even go to say that Mayor Gifford has pushed, challenged, and caused significant disagreement with our union more than any other previous administration in recent memory. That is quite the opposite of friends. In an age of instant communication, facts matter. As I said, I encourage any discussion and debate regarding the fire department, but we can't do that without the truth and being properly educated. I encourage everybody to stop down at the firehouse. We'll gladly have a discussion with you, whether it's one of the guys down on the floor or the fire chief. We'll discuss anything, debate anything, answer all your questions. It has never been and will never be the intention of our firefighters to put the village and its residents into further hardship. We recognize the challenges that village residents are facing, and many of our own members have faced layoffs, furloughs, and other hardships within our own families. It will always be the priority of our members to answer the call, and provide a professional, essential service to the residents of Scotia.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room want to speak to the budget? Okay, so I have in the chat, yes, I see the. So, this says girl fight. I'd assume that's not your,
Amanda
Your name.
Gonzalez Barone, 6 North Home Street.
okay. So Amanda, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I just want to kind of start off first off with, some of the comments made about the police and the race and things like that. Maybe they're offhanded, but could be interpreted as insensitive or maybe even, inflammatory. So just kind of wanted to say that. I know they were kind of made offhanded, but some people might not interpret them that way. Second of all, the board did a very good job of showing that the money is being spent faster than it's being taken in terms of revenue, but where is that going? And now I'm not talking about the pie chart. I'm talking about where exactly, what services, that's 7%. What does that mean to the rest of us? Because we see 7% and we're getting an apologetic letter saying, hey, sorry to do this, but this is the only way. Well, what services are in jeopardy? What is actually happening with that 7%? And what is the exchange? Is it, hey, we sacrifice this service, this service, this service, and this service, and our taxes don't change? Or, you know, we keep that, we do that 7% hike and we keep this, this, and this. I think that's a vital piece of information that's not being presented to the residents right now. And I don't understand how we're expected to create, you know, to feel at that point if we don't have the complete informational picture in front of us. It's easy to say, hey, this is going to police, this is going to fire, but is it going to Lamborghinis, or is it going to essential Buicks, you know, like bottom barrel police cruisers? We don't know that. So how can we make an informed decision if we're not presented with, this is exactly where the money is being spent, and this is what you're going to sacrifice as a village resident if it's not spent in this way? Secondly, Alex, and I'm sorry, I missed the name of the gentleman who spoke after him. They hit it right on the head. There is no solution to make ends meet in the village beyond raising taxes for residences at this point. And at some point, and it's getting very close, you're going to drive people out of the village. And I don't even know how that's going to resolve itself at that point. I mean, you look at Mohawk Avenue, and I grew up in this area. I'm a longtime resident. And I remember when Mohawk Avenue was thriving and had businesses left and right. And now it's, you know, a ghost town, I think, is being nice at this point. There's rundown buildings, there's vacant storefronts. There's businesses that I know probably won't come forward at this point, but are struggling with buildings that are falling apart on them, and they're trying to make it work, and taxes are going up and they're being forced out. I know a few who were forced out of Scotia just because they can't tolerate being there anymore because of the conditions. So when we look to other neighboring towns like Glenville, where they're developing business corridors, they're using business taxes to keep residential taxes down. Why isn't that being used for the Mohawk Avenue corridor? Why aren't businesses, landlords, I should say, there are several absentee landlords, empty storefronts, you know, properties that are falling apart. Why aren't we developing that area to offset the tax costs to the residences? Because increasing taxes to the residents are only going to push people out. And I think we can all agree that if people move out of Scotia at this rate, it's just going to mean the end of the village. So really, what is the solution? I don't think that the board is presenting any other solution beyond raising taxes every single year. And that is definitely not sustainable. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. I see nobody else is in the, oh wait, there's one more in the chat. Joel?
Joel Simmons, 6th Street. And Susan Torelli was before him, actually. Susan Torelli was signed up before.
Okay. Susan, do you want to go? Susan, you go ahead and then we'll do Joel.
Susan's 310 Sunnyside, right, Mike?
Yep. 26 Sunnyside. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There was a point made about speaking in truths, and there's a couple truths that a lot of people had pointed out tonight. One of them, you know, spoken in your intro to the budget presentation, was that, quote, we are in the uncomfortable position this year. I guess to me, that makes, while the truth, it doesn't paint the whole picture. It's not just this year. And saying this year is very narrow. And I think that's part of the problem with the current administration at this point. There's a very narrow view of trying to take care of things this year. And as we've seen, and as Alex has pointed out, and as Mike has pointed out, and as many people have pointed out, this is a fairly easy trend to see where it is going. You don't have to be, you know, in the meat of it to understand that our tax base is built out. We are landlocked in that we can't build big developments. We're not like Glenville where we can attract a Target or a Lowe's. We have no other way of creating tax revenue other than raising taxes. And shown on the slides, it is shown that for the 20 years that you have on the slide, that is the case. I don't understand why it has taken 20 years without addressing this problem, that it has gone on this long, that we can sit down and send a letter and talk about, quote, this year's budget. This is a bigger issue than this year's budget. And what has happened over the past 20 years is that administrations haven't wanted to tackle the big picture. They haven't wanted to face the real truths that we don't have the money to pay for our services. And I am not saying that I don't enjoy those services. I think everyone would say they like the fire department, they like the police department. I went to school with the chief of police. I am friends with him. I like them. It's not that I don't want them working in the village. It's that the village can't afford it at this point. And I think sticking our heads in the sand and not addressing the bigger picture is really deteriorating life in the village. Because what's happening is because we have to pay these unavoidable costs for pensions that are increasing year after year, that we didn't have to pay starting in 2003. From 2003 until now, that's been steadily increasing. And we haven't done anything about it. All we have done is picked off the low-hanging fruit. We've eliminated park programs. We've cut back on budgets. Everything is lean to pay for these services. And at this point, there is nothing else to cut. There's no point in looking at the budget and showing people where that money's going. I know the previous speaker, said, are they buying Lamborghinis? Are they, you know what? They're not. Everything is lean. Everything is cut down. But that's the problem. There's nothing left to cut other than the big ticket items. And the issue is that we haven't planned for that at all. I spoke at last year's meeting. I made the same points. I've spoke at several municipal facilities meetings. I've made the same points. Those points have not been taken by this administration. And you guys have not looked at this, a solution. You have continued to just ignore it and assume that everybody's willing to pay for it. You are correct. People like the services, but there comes a point that people can't pay for them or won't be able to pay for them. And up until that point, people are leaving the village and people are not moving into the village. And that is deteriorating the life in the village. And we need to stop the drain of people leaving. We need to make hard decisions. We can't keep doing what we have been doing. It is not working. We have charts and graphs and things you put up every year that show us that it's not working. And I'm not saying if we get rid of the police department or quote, get rid of the fire department, that we don't know what that looks like. It's not that we won't have a police presence. It's not that we won't have a police presence. It's that it'll possibly be a different response time. And maybe that's a minute, maybe that's 5 minutes, but we don't know because we haven't looked into that. And we haven't told people what that looks like. Maybe if you presented it to somebody and said, are you willing to pay 8% next year, 9% next year? If you're not, are you willing to take a 5-minute reduction in response time? We don't know what that compromise is because we haven't looked at it. I think that it's completely irresponsible of this administration to not look at the big picture. You have 1 more year in your term. You can be part of the solution and you can stop sticking your head in the sand, or you can have the same exact conversation next year. But the problem is next year, as we can see on the graph, the truth of the matter, it will be higher next year. And while we continue to dip into the general fund, that fund will be gone. In 5 years, there will be no $150,000 to get from the general fund. And according to your numbers, that would mean an additional 3% increase on top of whatever else we would need. That is coming soon. And we need to think about, as a village, how we want to compromise services. We want to be part of the conversation. We want to look at the big picture. People want to know what that compromise looks like to make those decisions. The village is out of touch with the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Joel?
Okay,
Joel, are you there?
yep,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi. Well, so far, for all the people that have spoke.
Wait, Joel, state your name and address, please.
Joel Simmons, 6th Street, Scotia. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So far, all the people that spoke, I agree with. They've been doing a very good job, probably much better than I'll do too. But like the last one said, this meeting that you're having about the budget, we never heard anything about it until we got an email last week. So there was nothing a month ago saying, gee, we're going to do a budget. We need some kind of help. And where could anybody have ideas? Because you always put out emails for anybody got ideas and we need help with this. But you didn't bother doing that with this budget. You just went ahead and did it in the blind, so nobody knew anything. You're not giving any alternatives like she asked. And I would like a Lamborghini, but I can't afford it because I can't just go to work and say, you know what? I want to buy a Lamborghini. Give me a 7.5% increase in my pay. There's people in this village that are on fixed income, and there's people in this village that have been laid off of their job because of the COVID, have lost their money. But yet you're just increasing everything. Has the village laid off anybody at all to save money in any way? No. Right now we have a fire department, and I like the fire department just like everybody else. But according to your budget of what I see, we have 9 officers at $80,000 to $90,000 each a salary, over 5 regular firemen. That's 2 officers per fireman that we're paying, plus benefits, plus extra cost. Now, Glenville, yes, has a volunteer fire department. I know we're small, we can't attract a lot, but the fire department, for one, could easily be consolidated with Glenville because they're here every time there's a fire anyways. Mainly Scotia, they use the paramedics to go to wherever, which is fine. So that's a substantial cut that we could get away with paid fire department that we don't need. Now, with that, nobody put in the budget proposal if we were to cut the fire department and the pay of that, and we consolidated, how much would we save? Would we save 1%? Would we save 5%? Would we save 10%? We don't know because nobody gave us that option. But once again, I don't have a Lamborghini because I can't afford it. So we might not have a paid fire department because we can't afford it. The police department, I love, they're great. I have absolutely no qualms with them, but it may be time to think about it. I mean, because a lot of times when they get busy, Glenville's here anyways. And Glenville is always driving their car through here. I'm sure there's something that could be negotiated with Glenville to some sort of substation here that could be run out of Glenville, which could save us money. We could talk to them. Have we? No. Has it been proposed? If we lose the police department, how much could we save on our taxes? Because it would also be the retirement fund that we would be saving on. We would be saving on a lot of stuff, but we haven't had that offer. Well, once again, I can't go to my boss and say, you know, I'm looking for a raise because my village taxes are going up. And there's a lot of people that won't be able to afford it anymore. And on top of the 7% that you want to raise, you even said in your budget, anticipated water increase. So that's going to go up. The school tax, we all know that's going to go up. The county tax, we all know that's going to go up. So on our houses, on an average, we're going to start paying another $1,000 a year for all the taxes on it. And we already pay that much. We pay way too much. We have to look at cutting costs and services. Yes, we all enjoy it, but have you asked anybody what services could be cut? Have you made up any kind of pie chart saying if we cut this, we can save this much? No, none of that's been done. All your budget, which you say they've worked months on, we didn't hear anything about until last week. And all these questions that you've been getting, are we going to have some kind of answer to all of it? Because you've been good about sending emails when you want something or just want to let somebody know something at the last minute. But will you do an email to let everybody know this stuff? Tell us when they're having meetings about the budget. Tell us if there's something that we can have. Have open meetings about the budget so we can put our input in beforehand so we don't have to get to this time. There's a lot of things that could be done, but it hasn't been. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you, Joel. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard about the budget? Going once. Thank you, everybody. So we have it in the agenda to take action on the budget, but we decided at our work session last night that we're going to table that till next week. So we will move on to number 5. Number 5 is the local law relating to fences. The primary thrust of this, it's got several, but is to limit the height of fences in the village to 6 feet. We were surprised to see our code didn't have any height limit. Is there anybody who would like to speak about the height of fences in the village? People in the Zoom, raise your hand or mark in the chat if you could.
We got one resident right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, step up to the microphone.
Spencer Lighthall, currently residing at 7 Cuthbert Street.
Hi.
I couldn't help but noticing while reading the law, it didn't state any reason in particular why you are limiting the height of fences. Is there any clarification you can provide to that?
Joe, what do you think?
Well, they're to unify all the fences to make sure all the village fences are at the same height, so people will have.
No,
the
you
same
can go
thing.
less than 4 feet.
Yeah,
6
the
feet.
front yard's 4 foot, but the back yard is
Oh.
the standard 6 foot. We just want to standardize all the fences in the village, so they all look the same and they're not stockade fences 12 foot high.
Okay.
And that's the main purpose of this law, is to make sure all the fences are at a standard size for everybody.
Okay, I can't help but feel that's more of a homeowners association decision.
But we don't have one. Yeah,
I understand that. That was the point of the comment.
okay.
It seems a bit ridiculous to limit the size of fences in the village, but I can understand it if you want to uniform it. I also noticed that you had a section that was describing the limitation of where you can place a fence for industrial buildings. Something about being within 2 feet if it has to require regular maintenance. Can you elaborate on that at all?
it is listed here, that the fences may be placed 2 feet or more off the property line for maintenance.
Okay.
That's one of the things I believe we added on to, so in other words, if I have a fence and I need to have it stained, I can go on, actually on my property, or, you know, if it's, we can move it on your side, and I have to get permission from you. So if we move it a feet or 2 feet inward on your property line, you can get in there and you can maintain the fence without having any problem with your
Okay.
neighbor.
Thank you for clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike. Is there anybody else who would like to speak about fences? Okay, oh, sorry.
I just wanted to comment about the fence. Unfortunately, my phone is not working and I could not pull up the rest of the law that is being proposed to amend, but sorry. I was wondering why the focus is on the height of the fences and not quite the placement in reference to being able to view traffic.
Well, that's already there.
Okay, so how does, so specifically, there's a fence on the corner of, I wrote it down, of Fifth Street and Fly Road. It is incredibly dangerous. It obscures the view of like almost the entire side of Fly Road when you're making a left
You
turn.
mean Boston Avenue?
Or is it Boston?
Yeah.
Maybe I thought it was
Fifth and
Fly, but-
Is the intersection by the pizza shop. Have I?
I know what
Then
you're
yes, then the one, then the further one. Yes.
Yeah, so. Yes, that one is not 6 feet and it's within bounds, so we do have rules about that. That doesn't violate them. We've checked it. It's nasty, for sure.
I don't really care about nasty. I'm caring about the nasty car accidents that
Yeah.
could possibly happen from that. I mean, you know, setting a regulation about how high and unified all the fences should be. But if that's escaping, if that is legal to have that fence right there, then we need to be changing the regulation so it states that, so it takes into account the safety of drivers far more than it already is. Like, it's clear if that fence is legal, then it's clear that that law is not doing enough. So I don't know. I don't really care about the height of
Okay.
fences, like I said, but
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Amanda in the chat.
Yes, Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is actually Brittany Gonzalez Barone at 6 North Home Street. I was just a bit confused, and I guess I will express my confusion as a statement with the first gentleman's question about why the max 6 feet. And again, I think kind of to piggyback, I'm not super concerned about the max height. We don't even have a fence right now, but if the reason is for uniformity, and the max is 6 feet, then that would mean that I could have a 5-foot fence and my neighbor could have a 4-foot fence, which kind of eliminates the argument for uniformity. So I mean, I don't know if there's an answer to that, but I just feel like that explanation is very unclear. Thank you.
No, I don't think that was true. It was for, and we tried to correct that when we were going along, but it's not for, it's just so that we had a couple of fences go up recently that were well over 6 feet and they're overpowering, and we thought that might not be a good idea. I don't think there's, Lydia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the existing fences would be able to stay as grandfathered, but you wouldn't be able to build a new one over 6 feet. Is that true?
Right. Okay. So this is Amanda again. We're together, by the way. We're a married couple. But anyway, so the explanation provided was uniformity for the rule. However, now you're saying it's not necessarily uniformity, it's a maximum cap on the fence. So, and safety. So that would be the rule. So we're just confused about why uniformity is being used literally in this call but you could have a 3-foot fence, you could have a 2-foot fence. That's not uniform. But if it's safety, it's safety. But as the previous speaker illustrated, you could have a fence that's within the bounds and it's still going to create a safety hazard. So there's just a lot of inconsistency about the rules about the fencing. And if it's uniformity, then the 6-foot cap isn't really going to create uniformity. But if it's safety, the cap still isn't creating safety. So where are these regulations being created, and what is the boundaries, and what is safe? I guess that's the explanation. What the question I should say is, what is safe?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Would anybody like to propose local law 2021B?
I would like to propose 2021D.
I'll second.
Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Zolchak,
Yes.
trustee Rizzo,
Yes.
Mayor Gifford,
Yes.
trustee Gray. Yes. Trustee Cook.
Yes. Mayor Gifford, may I have the floor for a moment? I just want to take a moment. I had the opportunity to research some fencing regulations in other neighboring jurisdictions, mainly mid-sized urban communities similar to the Village of Scotia. 6 feet tends to be a pretty standard size, not necessarily for safety, but for nuisance. And just so if a neighbor, when you live close quarters to folks, the neighbor decides to erect a 10 or 12-foot fence obstructing your view of the street or a backyard, or even say you live on a park and you you used to be able to see the park from your fence. It prevents it prevents the blockade of that. Backyards in particular, it does allow for increase of 8 foot for bordering commercial properties, because if you live next door to a commercial property, chances are you do want a little bit more privacy from that busy intersection. So it's more of to prevent nuisance and complaints. Also, the 2 feet. Again, we live close quarters with other neighbors, and wooden fences such as stockade fences oftentimes do require regular and routine maintenance. So again, your neighbor you're sharing the fence with doesn't see a dilapidated fence. If for whatever reason you don't have a very positive relationship with your neighbor and they prevent you from going into the yard to repair that fence, there's actually nothing you can do to get in access to repair that fence easy. So the regulation allows 2 feet of clearance so that you can access your property to maintain that stockade fence that may need to be stained or painted. That is why I voted in favor of this legislation.
And may I say something also, Mr. Mayor?
Joe,
On the question about the fence on 5 and 50, I don't know if the landowner knows that fence is a possible problem, but maybe if their neighbors would approach him and say, Jesus, I think there is a problem there, maybe the resident will cut that fence down and adjust it if they know what the problem is. I don't think he really does know if there is a
Joe,
problem.
we've done that and the state's done that. It's not something that's
Well, nobody's told me
for
about
us
it, so.
at the meeting. Yeah, let's keep going. Local law 2021C relating to garbage, rubbish and refuse. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this is the major change of this is to ask people to require people to move garbage cans to the side yard rather than leaving them on the front porch or in the front yard. Is that a good enough characterization?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Lynn Trudell Moore. I live at 221 Glen Ave. My concerns were about several different of the code, quality of life codes, so I'll try and do them one at a time, as the
Yep.
mayor suggested. Specifically, when it comes to code C, I believe, yep, which is the garbage receptacles. It's based on how it looks, which I believe is wrapped in a concern about it being health and safety. And those things are primarily based on someone else's perception. The current code says that garbage cans have to be neat, clean, and covered. The change is where they can be placed on your property. I did talk to every member of the board and the mayor and the building inspector. I heard comments that this was brought about because garbage cans on your porch are smelly and unsightly. So it's the sight of the can that's the problem. It's not the garbage that's the objectionable part. If it's neat, clean, and lidded, as the current code requires it to be, then how come it's smelly? As for attracting vermin and rodents and mice and whatever, moving the can 2 feet from the deck of my porch over the railing to the other side of the porch on the ground is not going to reduce vermin in the can. It's not going to reduce that problem. I've had vermin chew through a closed lidded garbage can in my backyard. And as a responsible homeowner and citizen, I replaced the can or replaced the lid, and I made it neat and clean and lidded again, which is exactly what I would do if the problem happened on my front porch. The other side of this is the burden that this will be to anyone in the village with mobility issues like me. I have a 50-foot driveway. I cannot drag my garbage can from the back of the house down the driveway to the curb every week, especially in December, January, February. Even getting it from the side of the house, going off the porch in the inclement weather and dragging it halfway down the driveway to the curb can be an inconvenience. The Village of Scotia has a large elderly population to whom this will also be a problem. So I would ask that the village take a moment to reconsider the wording, come up with another option maybe. I would agree, however, if they wanted to create a code that says that nobody can have bags of garbage in their yard, on their front porch, that are easily broken, that are easily accessible to the neighbor's cat. That should be the code that you're worried about, not where the can is. Thank you.
Go ahead.
There was two people.
Yeah, I got it. Let's finish up here first.
So I generally don't participate in many politics. This actually brought me out of my shell because I made a comment earlier about the fences sounding like a homeowners association decision. And this one especially sounds exceedingly like a homeowners association decision, particularly the part where there is a possible fine up to $250 for a trash can staying outside, possibly getting blown around by the wind. And it's been amended, but on the website, it originally said up to 6 months in prison. $250 and 6 months in prison for a trash can. I don't know who wrote that law or thought that was a good idea. I'm glad it's been amended down to 15 days, but I don't think there should be a prison sentence. And I think the original fine of $100 is more than necessary if you want to even put that in. But I don't think it's necessary at all, because I don't think I've ever seen most people keep their trash can out for more than 2 days. Not to mention, this law is exceedingly unfair to people who may be out of town for long periods of time, such as truck drivers or as the prior speaker mentioned, people who have disabilities that prevent them from doing things and may have people who come and do those things for them. That is my largest concern with this law so far. I also agree with the prior speaker's statements on the location of the trash can. That will not really matter if you're trying to prevent vermin from getting into it. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, from anybody else in the audience? Go ahead.
I wasn't expecting you to get up and down this much, honestly, but that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate the format of this actually, and that you're giving everybody a chance to speak on things. I can't lie. I have a background in criminal justice, and when I heard about this, I was incredibly upset, like incredibly. And I know this is not a back and forth thing, but I actually would like to know who proposed the original thing. Who agreed that for a trash can, an empty trash can, not even with trash inside of it, but for an empty trash can to be the reason that a person could get up to 6 months in jail, a misdemeanor on their record. It's not even a class A or class B misdemeanor the first time around. You had to sit and think, how long do we want a person to go to jail for a trash can being left on the curb for too long? I understand it's been amended, but once again, I'm still incredibly upset. I was happy to see it was amended because I presume that you saw the comments on Facebook, or maybe you got some comments personally. You still decided that jail time, 15 days in jail, 15 days, jail at all, was an option for this. That is egregious. What are you trying to tell people? What are the priorities of this village? Seriously. You would rather put people in jail for 15 days when there could be people with disabilities. There could be people that are not at home. There could be people working 2-3 jobs to keep up with the village taxes that keep raising. Maybe they're too tired to take in their trash can. It's happened to me. And it's been empty when I've been too tired. I will put that out there. This is like, this would be comical if it wasn't so serious. Because I really, really need to know, as a person who wants to raise children in this village, why is the priority putting people in jail for a trash can that could be empty and clean? I really would, maybe, right this second, it'd be fine if I didn't get an answer on, who exactly approved this and wrote this, and then who revised it and approved it and thought it was still okay for jail time. But the public needs an answer on this, because I've spoken to quite a few people who are quite frankly outraged. This is completely inappropriate, and it's like a mockery of the legal system.
I'll say I don't approve of it. I think a misdemeanor charge is absurd. What I will tell you, that particular part of the code was written decades ago. It was just not removed in the process of adding the new additional legislation. So it is not okay that a misdemeanor charge or any day in prison should be even considered for something like this. And I also worked with the folks who introduced this bill to make sure that there was exceptions for people with documented disabilities that is in line with the Americans for Disabilities Act.
Okay. I would like to respond really quickly to what you just said. I'm assuming that when you decide to amend bills, you read them. So, well, yes, I appreciate that.
Yes.
That was not something that was just come up with and written, that a misdemeanor would be given to somebody for this offense. I appreciate that it was knocked down to a violation. I appreciate that, actually, that's all that I appreciate about the revision, to be honest with you. That is all I appreciate, because if you read this law and the first time around you saw misdemeanor, 6 months in jail, and just looked that over, because that is what it originally said. I saw this revision today. Today I saw that this was updated. I don't know when exactly it was updated, but the fact that it had to be updated at all, and that it includes jail time. It's blowing my mind. So that's what I have to say on this.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Okay, Amanda?
Hi there. Yep, it's Amanda again. It just seems, based on what everybody's been saying about the trash cans, it honestly doesn't seem like it's meant to punish. It seems like it's, or a deter, I should say. It's meant to punish. Just by the nature of it. I don't honestly think you guys mean to jail anybody or create a misdemeanor. And I agree with the previous speaker saying that a misdemeanor is absurd. I mean, at that point with a misdemeanor charge on somebody over a trash can, you're messing with people's jobs. You're messing with people's livelihood, ability to get hired over a trash can. And I understand what the board member who spoke said was not in favor of it, but that made it through the first cut that everybody saw, and it was amended, but that was still in there as a misdemeanor for a trash can. With that said, I still believe nobody here means to jail anyone over a trash can. What it seems to be, to me at least, is a way for fining individuals for maybe forgetting to bring their trash cans in or leaving them out too long, or maybe trying to reconcile the budget in some way. That's what it seems to be, because I think it's a little absurd when I see most of the neighborhood is fine with bringing their trash cans in. I've lived here for 3 years now. I've not noticed anybody leaving their trash out too long, except for I could count on my hand how many individuals. And they should be personally identified and addressed by the village. It shouldn't be a blanket legislation that happens to the rest of us where if one of us forgets, we're getting a fine. It kind of seems like if your lawn I've been threatened with notices about my lawn being too long enough times. And address it on a person by person basis. Don't fine the rest of us just because a handful of people don't comply with these.
Found out how to do it.
And I don't know what's happening right now. But anyway, it just seems like it's a way to fine the rest of us for missing it once or twice versus trying to actually solve a problem that I personally don't perceive in the village. And even then, the punishment seems to be way too harsh for the crime. That's all.
Thank you. Tammy?
Hi, Tammy Luckhurst, Albemarle Road. I actually never thought in my lifetime I would be speaking at a board meeting in regards to garbage cans. But unfortunately, that is happening. As somebody else mentioned about a homeowners association, it reminds me of family members who live in a co-op who have very particular rules. And that's why I would never live in a co-op or a homeowners association. My son's job is to take out the garbage and bring in the cans. And I had to inform him that if he did not do it on time, his mom may go to jail. And he, as a minor,
The next week, right?
yeah, but as a minor, he even thought how absurd it is that somebody would go to jail for a garbage can. But let's just bypass that. I now hear that it's been amended. I don't know what all the amendments were, but the original one I read related to where garbage cans can be placed. I live on a corner. I have a road. It said something about it not being visible from roadways. I have a road in the front of my house. I have a road on the side of my house. I have a road on the back of my house, and I have a business, not my property, on the other side of the house. I have no idea where I can put my garbage cans because from my understanding, you're not supposed to be able to see them from the road. So I have roads all around my house and then somebody else's property. Where am I supposed to put my cans so I don't go to jail? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard?
Still don't know where to put my cans, but
Oh,
thanks.
yeah,
Can I say something again?
oh, sure.
Again, Lynn Trudell Moore, 221 Glen Ave. just as a way of clarifying some of the things that I've heard tonight. In hearing these new codes, I did a lot of research on what's out there, what's currently being done. I've lived in this village my entire life. At least since the last 4 decades. I do not know of anyone that has been jailed for their garbage can, for their fence, for their tree, for their lawn. It is written in the code. Yes, it is. And when you see it in writing, it's scarier than you know what. It is in the code a lot. Take a moment and look on the website and find the code. It's all there. It's been there for decades. But I wanted to assure those members of the community that are here and online, yes, it's very threatening to see it, but it does not happen. You'll get a letter from the building inspector, you'll get a letter from the village or whatever, but I have never in 60 years known of anyone that went to jail for it. So the code needs to be changed, absolutely. But I wanted to maybe assure other members of the community that that can happen and that the code can be changed. But what they're saying in there are scare tactics from decades ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close public hearing. And would somebody like to propose local law 2021C?
I'll propose local law 2021C relating to garbage, rubbish, and refuse.
Second,
I'll second it.
clerk call the roll.
I'm voting no for this one because I think there needs to be some more definition to some of the restrictions and the charges. So
I do agree with George that some of the language in this can be changed. But I voted yes for it.
No.
Yes.
No. But I want to say now that if it gets defeated, we need to revisit that language and eliminate misdemeanor charge immediately.
That's,
let's put some revisions on it.
yep. We have to go through the whole thing. Okay. Local law 2021D related to junk motor vehicles enforcement. This is a law we already have in place. We're talking about letting the police enforce it as well as the building inspector. Am I right with that, Heather?
Yeah.
That's the thrust. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to be heard on local law 2021D? Oh boy. Okay, come on first.
Gentlemen, they're not here anymore. You're still here. For all the police officers out there, I apologize, but this is a joke. The wording on this is absolutely impossible to understand for anyone. Who is it up to decide what is a junk vehicle? Does anyone have an answer?
New York State Code defines a junk car as an unregistered, uninsured motor vehicle on any driveway, yard, or street. It's New York State Code. Village cannot supersede that.
Okay. So as long as that's the case, why does that vehicle being on that property allow an officer to simply enter the home? Are they not required to still have a subpoena or something to say that they have reason to believe that they have reason to enter your home?
Again, this is, that particular part of the code was written decades ago. And I've also consulted with the building inspector, and that language needs to be updated as well. Because it's just like what Lynn Trudell said, it's written in code, but police department cannot and will not enforce it. They will not enter your property without warrant or probable cause. That is a violation of New York state law. So the proposed change for this law was allowing the police department to enforce the junk car, but that language that actually was raised in a public open meeting by myself and George, we knew then that that was not the intent of this legislation, but that needs to be revisited and revised.
Okay.
To be more updated in line with New York state law.
Thank you for the clarification. For future reference, it might be best to add that as an addendum or a note on the bottom of future laws when you're making these changes, because otherwise you're going to get a lot more upset people coming in here who do not like the way these laws are worded.
Correct.
Because this is exceedingly, this put me on edge, because this is worded in such a way that makes it seem like an officer is able to just look at my car, which has a fender bent on it, and say, that's a junk vehicle, and then approach my house and come inside. Thank you for clarifying the New York state law, though, because I was not aware of that one. As just a little quirk for that one, link on there that's links to the New York state definition of a junk vehicle would probably help alleviate a lot of those problems. That is all.
Thank you. Lynn? Oh, sorry, Maggie. We'll get you.
Okay. I need to say my name again. Okay. The junk vehicle code, which again, the town and the village have had for decades. It seeks the change is what I object to, not the fact that there's a junk vehicle code. There always has been, you shouldn't have an unlicensed, unregistered junk car sitting in your backyard for years, okay? What I object to is the change that is suggested that the building inspector, who previously was the one that enforced the code, and the police would enforce the violation. That they would be allowed to inspect any place that they suspect has a violation. While I agree that it should be in an open yard, it should be a code infraction, I strongly disagree with using the police department to enforce it, especially if it's in an enclosed garage.
Well,
That's what the code says, Mayor. And that's what the code previously said for decades. No one paid much attention to it, but it does say garage, which would give the police the authority to go into the garage with the building inspector if they suspected a car was in there, a junk car. In speaking to the trustees and in speaking to some other people, one of the justifications that I was told was that a junk car could be dangerous, could be a fire hazard. It's in your garage, it may have oil in it, it may have gas in it. But I will say this much, I don't believe that a junk car poses any more threat than the current combination of my gassed up lawnmower, snow blower, leaf blower, chainsaw, and whatever other equipment and chemicals I might be keeping in our garage. I don't think a junk car causes any more damage than that. On a final note, if this code goes through, no one will be allowed in my garage without a warrant. It sounds harsh, but that's exactly what the law says. It's harsh in that code. It says a uniformed police officer can come with the building inspector and go into my garage and see if there's a junk car there. Not just in my driveway, not just in my backyard where somebody else, a neighbor can see, but in an enclosed garage. I find that excessive. Thank you.
That just so it doesn't go farther, like you could sit down, Lynn, that's fine, but it's patently untrue that includes cars and garages. It's not. The law is very clear about that in another portion. You can have any car you want in your garage and nobody's going to go in there.
Should we have this revised?
So, who do we, I think Amanda, you're on again. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Maggie was up first. So go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification that we got that this is, I'm assuming planning to be changed when this comes to a vote, and I'm really, really hoping that it is, because as somebody has pointed out, a lot of these laws have been in the village code for years and years. So this would be like a really great opportunity for the current administration to go through those laws and fix those things, because it's not about whether somebody has ever been put in jail for something. It's whether there's the possibility for that, because God forbid somebody doesn't like their neighbor, they can take that out on them to the fullest extent of the law. But anyway, I do just want to mention that I just bought a car. We had to have it shipped from New Jersey, basically, because we didn't want to drive it. We wanted to make sure it was fine. It's a process, you know, handling the registration, the insurance, all those things when you go from one state to another. That car has been sitting in my driveway for approximately 3 weeks now. So the fact that by state definition, that is possibly a junk car, if they didn't see a registration or something in the window, they could possibly go onto land. I understand you already clarified. I appreciate that, but I just wanted to make that point. I also just, I don't understand at all why the police need to be enforcing this. I mean, people have plenty of complaints that they could be taken care of instead. Like, I'm pretty sure we have another issue with cars, but they're always being broken into, apparently. I don't know, again, with the messaging, what message is it sending that we're having police respond to potential junk cars on property? Because even providing a warrant doesn't mean that something actually exists on that property. So I just don't really see the point of, there really is no point that the police should be responding to this, because they have much better things to be doing.
And look at that. They all just left to go up to Maggie's house and ticket her car.
Wow, well, that's all right. We got that taken care of like yesterday, so I'm fine, but you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you see who, if we had, I think Amanda was up on the chat.
There you go. Yeah, hi, this is Brittany Gonzalez Barone at 6
Hi.
North Home. So, and some of this might be repeated, but I feel like it's really not sufficient to just go on people's words, right? I understand that these codes have been written for decades or however long. And to say that we're not going to enforce them is great, but unless you're, I don't know, sitting next to the police officer who gets the call, who says, hey, I think someone has a junk car on their lawn, and says, hey, no, I promised at the meeting that we're not going to enforce it. There is no legal obligation for them not to follow up on what that code says. So without an addendum or some kind of edit to these codes, it doesn't matter how long they've been in existence, they can still be followed up on. That's pretty much the end of it. So having, everyone else has said, having the police enforce this is quite excessive, and there are many other things that they can be focusing on that are probably way more important.
And just to piggyback on this is Amanda, saying that it's been that way forever is no longer an excuse for anything right now in government. Using the excuse, that's the way it's always been, we can do better than that. It's time to update things. And I can't stand by anybody who thinks that's a sufficient excuse to stand by any outdated law, especially ones that don't even make sense right now. These don't make sense. And by saying that that's the way it's always been, we can do better. Thank you.
You saw Joel.
Hmm?
Did you see Joel?
No.
He would like to speak.
Joel, okay, go ahead.
Joel from 6th Street. On some of these laws that you're amending or changing and whatnot, like the fence law, which I know you've already passed, and this so-called junk car law. And then you're willing to pass it, but yet you say you have to make amendments to it. Why didn't you plan all this out before you even brought it up to do it? Instead of saying, oh yeah, we'll pass this law now and don't worry about it, we'll fix it later. And like a lot of them said, I know some of them are ridiculous. I know we're not sending anybody to jail for a garbage can, which is ridiculous in the first place. And I'm tired of hearing about that part too. But a definition of a junk car is not a car that's not registered and insured. A definition of a junk car is a non-operating vehicle or cannot be operated. So there's a lot of people that take their car off the road for the winter because they park it. That might be underneath a cover, but it's unregistered. It may have insurance, it may not, it kind of depends. And of course, if they have to start paying higher village taxes, they might have to take the car off the road because they can't afford to keep it on the road. So their 2-car family might go down to 1. But you need to change the definitions of these things and get them straight before you bring them up so that you don't have to listen to people carrying on about going to jail for a garbage can or invading my garage on a warrant and that type of thing. So why don't you get them straight before you propose to have them? That's all I kind of have.
Thank you.
Yep. And do you have an answer for any of that or not really?
Joel, if you want to reach out to one of us during the day, we can respond accordingly. The public hearings are to have the public be heard, not for us to have a back and forth conversation. So.
Anybody else like to speak? Okay, sorry.
Hi, I'm Mike Shy, so this is kind of hard for me, but my
Where
name's
do you
Al
live, Mike?
Smith. What's up?
Where do you live?
I'm in, I'm sorry. My name's Earl Smith. I live on Cuthbert Street. No.
apologize to the people in the audience. We've got something happened with the sound and George is trying to fix it. We're just pausing for now. We'll resume as soon as it gets going.
We're back. Sorry for the delay.
So where's the picture, George? Did it get in?
Yes, Zoom can hear. Close the public hearing on the,
Right, I don't see the meeting room picture, is it? Okay, so we're gonna keep going. We have audio but no video, and we're working on that part. Okay, so do we have a motion to put forth local law 2021B?
If I may, I don't believe anyone on Zoom has gotten to speak on the issue. I don't believe it has been stated that if anyone on Zoom has anything to say about the issue of still junk vehicles.
I can't hear you, but it's.
He wants to know if there's anyone on Zoom who wants to speak on this issue.
No, we got that already.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just checking.
Yeah. Does anyone want to move local law 2021 B? Hearing none, we'll go on to local law 2021 E relating to outdoor maintenance of property regarding outdoor furniture.
No.
Is there?
We're gonna go back to rewording the plan.
Oh,
That's gonna be tabled.
okay, so, I think we still have to have a public hearing though, don't we?
We should, so going back to the garbage law that was put up for public hearing was not the amended garbage law. So we just need to reintroduce the amended garbage law and have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There's that, yeah.
Deja vu all over again.
So much for our free time.
So I'll see you guys next meeting.
So Lydia, are you there?
Yep. Yes.
Hi, we're proposing to table the law about outdoor furniture. Do we need to still have a public hearing, or is that, can we hold that until we actually put the law forward?
If you don't do it tonight, you would have to re-advertise it and do it another night.
Well, for sure, we'd have to do that anyway, right? I mean, it doesn't,
Right.
yeah.
So you could table the public hearing.
Well, actually, if there's, I think it might be helpful to our revising the local law if anybody here has a comment ready to go. It's not, it's not going to happen tonight, so you'll get another crack at it, but if, would anybody like to be heard? That sounds like the usual crowd. But, yeah.
Third time's the charm. You're not a homeowners association.
Okay.
Why does it matter what somebody has out on their patio, whether it's covered or not, whether it's upholstered or not? Are you trying to prevent the spreading of mold? Is the only thing that really comes to mind, like possibly rain getting on the upholstery and then spores spreading to a neighbor's apartment or something like that? That's the only possible thing I could think of why you wouldn't want upholstered furniture out on a porch. But other than that, it's none of your business, quite frankly. That's all.
Okay, great. Meg?
What he said, first of all. Second of all, I just got to bring it up again. While I understand that this could be a relic from the past, you still reviewed it, you're still proposing to change it, and the jail time is still in there. It is still in there. It's also not clear, like, what if somebody gets the date wrong for the, what's it called? The big garbage pickup day. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. What if somebody got the date wrong? What if somebody got incorrect information? They put something out on the curb or whatever it is. Then they're subject to this law, which is $250 or maybe 15 days in jail, even though, you know, you can promise you're not going to do that. It's still in the law there. That's just, you know, hate that I might have to come back to say, please stop trying to continue this relic of a law thing with jail time and with ridiculous penalties, because we're better than that. Or at least I would like to think that we're better than that. And I think that we're better than judging people for having furniture that we don't think is appropriate for outdoor use. It really is not the government's problem if somebody has, I don't know, it could be an upholstered stool on their porch. I don't know. I frankly don't care what my neighbors are doing sitting on their porch. Like, I don't care what kind of chairs they have, and I don't really know why you should either. Because if somebody complains about it, you can literally say that's not the point of the law. That's maybe a conversation between neighbors. It is not the point of the law to dictate what kind of furniture you can have on your porch or on your property. But that is what I have to say, and I sincerely urge you to stop with the jail thing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Okay.
You're getting your exercise anyway.
Yeah, I am. Let me tell you, they had the stairs and everything. The outdoor furniture code is, by the way, brand new. Brand new this year. So they took whatever wording and got it from wherever. Again, like, I don't even remember now, one of the other ones, the garbage cans. It's all based on appearance. It's all, we don't like how it looks. I don't want to live in a homeowners association. More than myself have said that today. That's why I live in Scotia. That's why I stay in Scotia. If I wanted to live in a homeowners association, I would. If I wanted to live in a more affluent community like some of our neighbors, I would. I don't. I choose to live here. It's a wonderful place to raise your kids. It's a wonderful village, but some of these are going above and beyond. What do people like not like about it? What has somebody said they don't like about it? Front porch, backyard? The only rationale that I heard was that they might become infested again with vermin. Gotcha. Understand. Somebody's got 3 couches in their backyard and grass that's 10 inches high. You might have a problem. Somebody's got 1 on their front porch. Not a problem. One of the things that I learned in looking into all of these, and I have spoken with, as I said, every member of this board, the building inspector, to learn more about it. And there is little justification for any of the changes that I've spoken about. Some of the other ones there are. The ones on how they look, it just looks bad. I don't like it. It's unsightly. Who would want that? Unless you're going to tell me what color I can paint my house. You can't tell me what I can have on my front porch. Unless it's open garbage. Open garbage. Not one person that I spoke to, not one, could give me numbers on an increase in complaints from neighbors or an increase in happenings of junk cars, garbage cans on porches, rotting furniture in your backyard. Not one of them. I heard a lot of, it's increasing. I see it. Don't you see it? No, I don't see an increase. If there is no increase in it happening, if there's no increase in the complaining from neighbors, why are you changing the code? I also learned that the current codes are ineffective for a variety of reasons. I suggest that maybe the trustees start thinking about working on the codes before they decide to use the police department for additional building code enforcement, or before they create new codes to further antagonize village residences. We have an elected board of trustees, and we have a building inspector who enforces those codes for health, safety, and quality of life. Are these things to be changed? Yeah, there's always something that needs to be changed. Are the current laws or changes well-meaning? Maybe, but they are rushed and not well thought out, as we've heard several times tonight. We didn't like it, we changed it, we amended it, but that's not what we got. Some of these are simply knee-jerk reactions to perceptions that they don't like how it looks. I asked the board to consider holding off on some of these votes, which you have, amending the code proposals changing the language, thinking of other ways to accomplish the goals, and determining if there are really problems more than I don't like it. If someone doesn't like the color of my house, as I said, the trustees can't make me change the paint. Finally, at a time in this country and this community, when we're still enduring COVID-19, after more than a year, when we're still struggling and the mayor has struggled with vaccinating village members, we're struggling with food insecurity, having had 2 drive-through food pantries, struggling with education and schools and children not being allowed to go. I don't believe that this is what the Board of Trustees should be spending their time and effort on fixing. Thank you.
Thank you. You have your hand up? Mr. Smith? I don't know. Anybody else? Okay.
There's a couple on Zoom.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I forgot that. Amanda, you're up.
I'm just going to start off by just kind of asking why, because it seems like we have a lot of, for lack of a better word, petty policies being proposed, and the penalties for them are just ridiculous. So why all of a sudden do we have all this laundry list of you can't leave your trash out too long, your fence has to be this high, you can't have home furniture out in your lawn? All of a sudden, it just seems really weird timing. The rules are ambiguous, they're vague. Many people so far have spoken about how it leaves it wide open to interpretation. And I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to accept the board's reassurance that no one will fine you for that, or no one will enforce you for that. It's in the code. That's what we're voting on. I'm going to go by the code and what you guys are putting into practice, and not what the verbal assurances are of a board at this meeting. It just seems a little weird that we're trying to balance a budget, and now every single little petty thing on this list, this laundry list, this scroll, is associated with a fine. So, you know, I'm trying not to make assumptions here. It just seems a little weird timing with that. And it does, I agree with the previous speaker that our tax dollars are better spent using your time to do some more good to our village than quibbling over this nonsense that really seems like a non-issue. With that said, when we're talking about furniture and people putting furniture outside, and what is an outdoor furniture or outdoor furniture and what is indoor furniture, I have seen some ratty looking outdoor furniture outside, but technically per the code, that's totally fine. A perfectly fine, intact, well cared for indoor couch would violate the code, but this rusted out piece of garbage, outdoor set would be totally totally fine and totally permissible. I think that's a little strange. And technically, if we wanted to go one step further, at what point is a ratty outdoor furniture considered trash that's been sitting out too long and then subject to that fine as well? So, and that's where I'll kind of leave it at that point.
Thank you. I think we've got one more. Trina? Is it Tina? Tina. Can't read it. Trina?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak about the furniture. Everybody's covered my point pretty well. As long as it's not falling apart and spewing insides of the chairs, then what difference is it to my neighbor or the person walking by, whether I am sitting in a recliner or, as someone else just kindly spoke of, a rusted out piece of outdoor furniture that, according to my disability, would not allow me to sit in and comment. I waited 2 hours to say that. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you say there's somebody else?
Ed Rosenberg.
I don't see it. Okay.
His
Ed?
hands raised.
Oh, all right. Hi, Ed. Go ahead.
He's still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're good.
Sorry about that.
No.
A couple questions about the furniture. Are the violations how's it going to work with non-owner occupied properties, and especially since we're not going to these properties every single day if you don't own one. And if a tenant puts the recliner out on the front porch, who's going to get the ticket? The offender or the property owner? That's the first question. And the second is just a statement of fact that I don't have any indoor furniture on any of my property that I'm aware of anyway, but I know for a fact that my father-in-law has a handicap with he's got bad knees, and he has upholstered furniture on his porch. He doesn't live in the village, but what do people like him do? It just seems, I guess, just like it's already been said, that it should be more directed towards people who have dilapidated furniture of any kind on their front porch. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
So we're tabling that, right?
okay, so
We're gonna close the public hearing first.
do we need to make a motion and do it? Okay, so we'll just table that. All right. Item 9, proposed local law 2021 F relating to trees. Is there anybody who would like to speak on that one?
I just have a question. Everybody goes to the town hall. What does table mean?
Table means we're gonna readdress it later. So it'll be up in the, in the same way. You can remember how to walk after 2 hours.
I know, good evening. I'm Paula Stage. I live at 134 Riverside Avenue. And I'm here this evening regarding a huge, dead, dangerous tree that is on the property next to my home at 138 Riverside. I've talked to the owners and they're aware of this tree. And, but it's a huge financial burden for them to have it removed. I've been trying to get this tree down probably 2 years now. I've been in touch with Lewis, the building inspector. He did speak to the homeowners and they had it trimmed. But still, there were many parts of the tree that was still dead and dangerous. I have a 2-family. My daughter and grandson live upstairs. He's 7. We have to tell him, don't play on this side of the house because of this massive tree. He also has anxiety, gets help at school with that. He's so scared of this tree when we have these windy nights like we've had recently. He can't sleep. I'm just kind of at a loss. Also, Lewis referred me to the DPW supervisor, and they checked it out, and the tree is on the property of the homeowner, not between the sidewalk and the street. So the DPW couldn't help me. So I'm here this evening to ask you to consider passing 2021F to help me get this tree down. I'd like to be able to sleep at night and not have to worry about this massive tree landing on my house and actually bluntly killing us, because it's so big. I have pictures, but I think that's it. We did contact the Lally Center because they always walked by our house with the babies and the strollers and the little kids on the rope. And we had to tell them, don't do it anymore because huge chunks fall off on the sidewalk. I have pictures a lot, and it's been over the last few years that it's been happening with this tree. And so thank you, and I appreciate you listening. Have a good evening.
Go ahead.
I wasn't originally going to speak on this topic, but Alex's wonderful presentation earlier on the finances makes it exceedingly clear that a lot of the laws you guys have been proposing seem to be attempts at alleviating some of the funding issues you have been having. And honestly, I have no problems with 2021F. I actually think it's better for the homeowner to be responsible for the trees that are on their property because it's their property. They own that land, therefore they should be responsible for any trees that are problematic in the area and should take care of it themselves. I'm actually in agreement on this one. So at least on this one, I can be in full agreement for it. However, it's apparent that of all of these laws, this is the only one that actually makes proper sense for alleviating cuts or alleviating bill problems for the county. And all of the other ones have all of these payment plans and they may not be acted on or anything like that. I understand that, but the problem is that wording exists and they can be acted on. I don't know when the unwritten rule was stated, but you can remove laws. You know that, right? You don't have to keep laws enacted. You don't need to continually reword the laws over time. You can cut the law, reword a new one completely, and have that out there without 70 addendums on it so that it's far easier to read. It would be a lot easier for everyone involved, including the villagers, to have laws that are completely new and worded in such a way that's easier for them to understand, so that you don't get situations where people are frustrated with old laws that have been around for so long that the laws no longer make any sense. That's all.
Thank you. Oh, is it Maggie? Go ahead.
Aside from the fact that I've been up here so much that eventually when I do go on air at the firehouse, I feel like Tom's not going to help me with that. Joking aside, this is another one where I'm just confused on like why are police enforcing this? It actually doesn't even make sense to me how that would happen. It really doesn't make sense at all. Once again, they have much bigger things to be concerned about. I agree that definitely is an issue, especially with how windy Scotia is, that the removal of trees is really important, but I'm not sure that I agree with exactly the way that the penalties are imposed. It feels like we could be more proactive about this than reactive. I mean, as somebody else stated, this is a huge financial burden for some people. I'm thinking about my own property. You know, we had a disaster in my basement that was several thousand dollars. If I all of a sudden got a notice that I had to remove a tree, and God knows how much that costs. I'm just thinking like, why are we reacting to something if somebody doesn't remove the tree, then the DPW comes in to remove it? Why isn't it just an option that you can call the DPW to have it removed? You're still creating revenue for the village. If they have time to go around and react to people who aren't removing their own trees, why can't people just reach out and say, I need this tree removed, maybe at that cost, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know how exactly that would work out, but the reactionary thing is just kind of bothersome when we could be helping people figure out their things in the village, similar to the way that we try to help them figure out sidewalks. Those are my issues with this. The fact that the police are involved in this at all, because it doesn't make sense logically, and that this is very reactionary. While it's important, and I'm glad it's being addressed, there's definitely different ways that we can do this other than penalize people.
Okay, we got a response to that from our Superintendent of Public Works. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so I've got a real problem with the idea that people want the DPW to go on private property and deal with a private tree at taxpayer expense when we're talking about lowering taxes and costs. We do not have the time or the ability to do that. We have to hire that out. Our tree budget is $12,000 a year. Large trees, like the woman just before that was talking about, are roughly $2,000 to $3,000 a piece. So the idea that DPW should be handling those trees is just wrong. We have enough trees to deal with in the right of way. People need to take care of their trees, and people need to, if they're going to own a home, come take care of the responsibilities that come with that. DPW is not responsible for those. We're responsible for the right of way, not private property. So don't start coming in and saying, don't tread on me. Come and take care of this tree. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to point out that it doesn't say that DPW itself isn't going to be the one that's taking care of these trees on private property. So thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Lynn?
Tammy.
Lynn.
online.
Oh,
Hi, Tammy Luckhurst again from Albemarle Road. I just wanted a little bit of clarification, and I know you guys aren't supposed to answer questions, so maybe this isn't the right forum, but since we're talking about it, because I am on a corner, I did put up fencing the other summer, and I couldn't get great clarification on how high of my fencing could be and how far off the road. So I actually have 2 different heights on my property to be sure that I didn't go against a corner lot code. And because of that, I was putting up fencing for privacy because I have some issues with a business nearby going on and trying to get some privacy. So I was planning on planting some shrubbery, that kind of stuff on the outside of my fence. Is this law basically saying that I cannot do that without the permission of the village and without the village giving me permission for what type of shrubbery I can put up? Because that's concerning to me.
so you're talking about in the right of way or on your property?
Well, I mean, of course, everybody's property has some kind of right of way. So I have my fencing in a good deal from the roadway. But it could very well maybe fall into the right of way. I don't know exactly where the right of way is. But I do have neighbors that have shrubbery outside their fence, and I'm just concerned that the village is going to be able to even dictate what type of species or size that I'm going to be able to plant.
If it's in the right of way, we care. If it's not, we don't. And if you could give me a call tomorrow and we can discuss that, because I don't think that's specific to this law right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Sure. I'm sorry, you were up there. Go ahead.
Paula Stage, 134 Riverside. I just wanted to clarify what the DPW supervisor had said. Maybe I didn't say it clearly, but when I contacted DPW, I was told that since the tree was on private property, they could not do anything about it. They are only responsible for trees from the sidewalk to the road. So therefore the homeowner is responsible. So I didn't mean to imply that DPW should be the one to take the trees down.
No, I
That's
think
the
he was reacting to something that Maggie said.
Oh, all right, yeah, so it's
yeah.
a private, the homeowner would be responsible to get a contractor themselves, or the DPW and the building inspector would take that into their power to do that. I don't know.
I mean, I think the idea of the law is for them to force that, not for them to do that.
Right, I wouldn't, so, yeah, just to make sure the homeowner follows through with it, basically. Okay, thank you. That's what I
Thank
wanted to clarify.
Mayor, Mayor, it does say that if after due notice referenced in section D and E is failed to keep such tree trimmed or removed, the superintendent of public works or the building inspector shall cause said tree to be trimmed or removed with the cost thereof plus an administrative fee equal or greater to 15% of the cost of such work. So if it is a dangerous tree and the homeowner does fail to act, then the village can act, but it will be at the owner's expense plus a 15% administrative fee for doing that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
Okay, one last real quick one. This is one I actually, well, I guess half agree with. I agree that they should not be in the right of way or site of way on a corner where you can't see around them, that sort of thing. I agree that the homeowner should be responsible for taking down dead ones, fallen down ones, any of that sort of stuff. My big problem is back to police enforcement. As Maggie had said. As a member of the Police Reform Committee, that committee, along with Chief Harrigan, is working hard to find ways to increase the visibility of the police in a good way, to increase the interaction with businesses and young people in order to create a message of assistance, not just enforcement. The police department is already handling an increase in calls due to COVID, an increase in domestic violence, drug addiction, overdose, bored kids because there's no school, and an increase in mental health issues. The last thing they have time for is, where did you plant your tree? Or is this a junk car? I agree that departments should work together, but the Scotia Police Department is busy enough with other things than policing where somebody plants a tree or a shrub. That's the building and parks, or the building gentleman, or it's the DPW. It's not Scotia PD. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would anybody like to move local law 2021 F?
I would like to move it. Just one thing I like to say, this is not telling people where they can plant or plant trees. It is to make sure that it is clear to people walking through the sidewalks and visibility from traffic.
Is there a second?
I think we were gonna table this one
Want to table this still?
because of the
Oh.
last language with regards to the penalties.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said, I think we were going to table this one.
Okay.
Because of the
All right, I'll table
penalties that were previously discussed.
Okay,
Because it doesn't have any of that language in it.
so do we table or we just go on without a second and keep going? Okay. Okay, local law 2021 G related to speed limits around the park. Is there anybody who'd like to be heard about the speed limits?
I'd
Alex?
just like to make a statement too, real quick. This was due to public reaching out to us to address some of the speed limits that were not being observed by the public. We did some research, we did traffic studies, we did discussions with our law advisement, and these are all speed limits that can be enforced rather than not being able to be posted and not be enforced. So we're actually taking action with the speed limit near Collins and Freedom Park, because that 15-mile-an-hour speed limit that's posted is not enforceable. So we're putting it at a limit of 25 miles an hour, which is enforceable in a public street. And then the other ones speak about the Flint House being a park road. We can enforce that at 15 miles an hour. So it was a collaboration between our village traffic safety committee, the town traffic safety committee, and was ushered in by residents reaching out directly to us. So advise if there is changes you need done to reach out to us formally and not on social media. So
Thank you. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Thanks, Alex Burns again from 8 Irving Road. I'm pretty sure either me or my spouse were the ones that actually reached out about that particular speed limit. I have to wonder why we have speed limit signs that are not enforceable in the village, but I'm glad that's being corrected. I would like to say, as I believe the law is now creating a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit from Shinoe, or I guess all of Washington Ave between Shinoe and Sunnyside, that would be a new speed limit, as right now it's 30 miles per hour. So I'm hopeful that since the chief is here as well, that we can educate people before we penalize them for it. I think it would be a good opportunity for police to do some outreach maybe with the community and let them know that there's a change in the speed limit rather than hammering somebody within the first couple months that a speed limit's changed. And then obviously after that, I do hope that those speed limits are enforced. The part of Washington Avenue along Quinlan Park, I believe it's called, is pretty dangerous. There are no sidewalks there. So there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of that parking lot. And when you're walking, especially this time of year with a lot of growth around the roadway, it can be quite dangerous. So I do support this law. As I said, I hope that education can be made and then enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here? Tammy, you got your hand up?
Hi, yes, me again. I know I've done a lot of complaints and a lot of us have done a lot of complaints, but you know, sometimes it's nice for you guys to hear some kudos too. It is unfortunate. I never knew that those speed limits were not able to be enforced, and I'd be passed, you know, cars would be on my back end, and it was frustrating. So now it's finally good to know that that's why they weren't enforced, and that it is now going to be enforceable. I do think it's unfortunate that the state, from what I read in the codes, will not let the village go down to 15. I understand a lot of places, you know, that have parks don't have the situation that we have here in Scotia, where we have jumping jacks across the street. You know, we have where we have the bands across the street. So, you know, our park is much more busier, I think, than some other parks with people crossing the street. So I do give kudos to you for trying to get people to do the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, but hopefully we can get people to slow down somewhat in that area with the 25, although, you know, 25 isn't that far off of 30, but I just wanted to say thanks, because sometimes we all just complain. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Does anybody want to propose local law 2021G?
I would like to propose local law 2021G to amend the speed limits throughout the village.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, clerk call the roll?
Yes.
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 Trustee Cook, that'll be a yes for me. No to the mayor part.
All right, it's okay.
Definitely, I'd like to say thank you to the residents who did reach out. Alex, you were one of them. There was a few others that reached out about them. So I mean, that's really the way to get things done, is to work at them from, you know, the business side. So thank you.
Okay, item 11. Can we have a resolution to have the mayor sign the MVP renewal?
Is there any increase in the cost?
What difference does it make? It's a contract.
All right, go ahead.
I'll move to authorize the mayor to sign the June 1st renewal of the MVP healthcare plan for the village of Scotia.
I'll second it.
Oh, go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 12, can we have a resolution authorize the mayor to sign renewal of the MetLife dental plan?
I'll make the motion for the mayor to sign the June 1st renewal of the
Thank you. Second.
MetLife dental plan for the village of Scotia.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 13, can we have a motion to authorize the mayor to approve project change memo from Prime AE regarding wastewater system?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to approve the project change memo for the Prime AE regarding wastewater system improvements, contract number 4, electrical construction with O'Connell Electric for unanticipated extra work related to the non-NEC compliant existing wiring, conduit and grounding conditions.
Thank you. So we have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
Justin, did you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
You can put the motion.
Item 14, can we have a motion to authorize the payment number 7 to CFI Contracting? The amount of $71,250 for wastewater pump station project contract 3.
I'd just like to ask Andrew, if you don't mind, if that's part of the original grant and an expected cost.
That one is, the previous one may need some explanation.
Yeah,
Go
George,
ahead.
which one are you talking to?
Payment number 7.
Yeah, that's part of their contractual payment.
Okay, so it's just coming up as it's completing. Okay.
Yeah, they try to submit, they've been urged to submit payments monthly. According to our board meeting schedule.
So it's, okay, thank you.
Did we have a second, Maria? Oh, okay. We have a motion?
I will make the motion to we're on O'Connell.
Authorize payment 7.
Yeah, authorize payment number 7.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Item 15, can I have a resolution to authorize payment number 3 to O'Connell Electric in the amount of $28,215 for the pump station project.
I'll make a motion to authorize payment 3 to O'Connell Electric in the amount of $28,215 for the wastewater pump station project. contract
Thank
number
you.
4.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I may
Opposed?
abstain.
Item number 16. Resolution to allow temporary license for outdoor commerce. This is the bump out project of Justin's.
Yep, I will make a motion to for the resolution to allow temporary licenses for outdoor commerce for the pilot program for the, oh, wait, is this for
Yes.
the bump outs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the park. All right. For the Mohawk Tap Room pilot bump out program.
I'll
So
second.
for people in the audience, this is an experiment we're trying with Mohawk Tap Room, allowing them to put tables on the sidewalk on the Tenbrook side so they can have more space, and we're hoping to do that other places if it works. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And we'd like to thank Mike and Stephanie for being our guinea pigs on this. It's really was ushered in by our planning board chair, Eric Busker, who found these solutions in other municipalities and brought them in, really defined them and allowed us to be able to get them to a point where now we have a trial that is in a business district. It's not near a residential area, that's allowing us to create the package to have it be widely distributed through the village to allow our businesses to thrive. So lots of thanks out there.
Thank you. Where were we?
19 or 18 or 17.
We are on the MS4
Okay.
annual report.
All right, so this is what you've all been waiting for, the most exciting part of the meeting. Every year, we have the privilege and honor of teaching you about wastewater. And Justin's going to read the required interesting stuff.
The Village of Scotia MS4 Annual Report Summary, March 2020 to March 2021. MCM number 1, Public Education. Stormwater pamphlets, handouts, and posters are available at the Village Clerk's Office, DPW Office, and Building Department Office. The Village Water Quality Report postcard was sent to all residents and included a link to the Village MS4 program webpage. Yard waste and loose leaf pickup programs were posted on the electronic sign in Collins Park, on the Village website, and the mass email list of 1,170 residents. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Village did not have a fire department open house event. In the past year's stormwater brochures were handed out at the fire department open house. The Village plans to resume public education events when it is safe to do so. MCM number 2, Public Involvement and Participation. Schenectady County Water Quality Committee meetings. The Village is represented at all 10 meetings each year. Meetings were held virtually. The MS4 annual report is posted on the Village website and available at the clerk's office for review and comment. 24,000 pet waste bags were utilized. A canal clean sweep, 4th of July fireworks cleanup, and Collins Lake cleanup were not performed this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Village plans on resuming these public involvement events when it is safe to do so. MCM number 3, Illicit Discharge Detection and Elimination, IDDE. All 25 storm sewer outfalls are mapped within the Village. 11 were inspected in December 2020. The locations of storm sewer outfalls and catch basins are mapped and available for view on the Schenectady County Internet Mapping System, SIMS. Pipe deterioration was identified at Riverside Avenue outfall, along with associated soil erosion. Repair of the pipe and ground surface stabilization is planned for the coming year. MCM number 4 and number 5, construction site and post-construction control. During the program year, there were 0 projects requiring SWPPP reviews. The Village inspected 3 post-construction stormwater management practices that are owned by the Village several times each during the year. Maintenance was performed as needed, including mowing of the grassed areas. MCM number 6, municipal operations. 11 out of 16 Village employees were trained to implement best management practice in erosion and sediment control to avoid stormwater pollution in their duties at the DPW garage and in their field operations. During the past year, Village streets were swept 2 times for a total of 104 miles cleaned, and approximately 2 acres of parking lots were swept. 25 catch basins were inspected and cleaned as necessary, approximately 6% of the system, including those on Glen Ave prior to the paving work that was performed there. The Parks Department applied minimal amounts of fertilizer to Village parks and none near Collins Lake to help combat high phosphorus levels. Notes, the number 1 was the MS4, Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer. Number 2, MCM equals minimum control measure. And number 3, SWPPP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Okay. Item 18, Mayor's comments to the board. Will be really quick. We had our COVID shots program with seniors is almost all wrapped up, thanks to the county. Our project we were hoping to do in Scotia turned out not to be necessary, and I've got 2 people to drive tomorrow to over to the county, but we're doing pretty well. Our streetlights have all been replaced. You will notice the difference, and I know the light bulb in front of my house is now 20 watts, so it's cheaper to pay for. All right, this resolutions you heard a few minutes ago, the sewer pump station, that's coming along. We don't realize all the things that the Village is doing for people, but it's really important to have the sewage go away on a regular basis. So these updates are critical. We're also finishing up a study on the reinforcing the Freedom Park stage so it doesn't drift off into the river. That should be the study done and the work done before the season for Freedom Park, which is going to happen this year in a socially distanced way. The police have gone to a 12-hour shift. I doubt if people will notice much difference. They're different crews for 6 in the morning to 6 at night and 6 at night to 6 in the morning. As Lynn referred to, the Police Reform Committee finished their job and made some recommendations, and the police department has adopted those. We have here the plans for the library edition. If anybody's interested in that, they're here for display. But that was approved by the village last month and the county sometime during the month. The municipal facilities project is grinding on slowly. We have places in mind, and we are working on a way to get it to all the public and get the project in front of everybody. Lastly, the Memorial Day parade is up in the air right now. We won't have much of a parade if we have anything, but we do want to have something and get the veterans involved. So we'll keep you posted on that. Our the chairman of the chairwomen of the parade committee had various emergencies and decided at the last minute they couldn't do that. So we're trying to get the fraternal organizations to do that. Justin's working on that. So anyway, that's my comments. Item number 19, correspondence, liaison, and special committee reports. George?
I had a long drawn out discussion to talk about tonight for sure, and some of that's going to be a little bit abbreviated, but basically I had a hand. I'm a liaison to the traffic safety board. I'm a liaison to the planning board, so I was involved and got to listen to those discussions leading up to the pilot program for the bump outs. I think it's a great opportunity for us to investigate a good way to utilize some space and bring more people to the village to service our village businesses. It can be tailored to retail, it can be tailored to coffee shop, it can be tailored to comic book store, it can be tailored to a tavern across the street from Village Hall. So it's a great opportunity for us to find a way to package it and make it replicatable throughout the whole village. So it's a great thing. Obviously the budget's a big discussion point this time of year, as it is every year. And I want to reiterate the way to reach out to the village to talk about the budget and to bring your ideas in there. So number one, this is a great turnout tonight, even though our numbers are dwindling as time goes on, but this is the way to get your voices heard at the public hearings. Reach out to us individually, together, before meetings, after meetings. They're every month, second Wednesday every month, first Monday, second Wednesday.
First Tuesday, second Wednesday, third Monday.
Yeah, so every month we're here, and that's just part.
And to add to your point, all of our meetings, I've seen some on the chat here, but all of our meetings are public. We make an effort not to get 3 trustees together just for a drink or something. All the meetings are public, and
so
nothing is under wraps.
Yeah, so the way to get things done is to do exactly what you did tonight. So I want to thank everyone who had a comment, who had a feeling about it, who reached out to talk. So, you know, this budget cycle is my third, and it's been eye-opening each time. I am a village resident. I moved here in 2009. For those who don't know who I am, I moved here in 2009 because I have a child with special needs. And our school district, Lincoln Elementary, is one of the greatest that has the co-teaching program. So that's where I wanted to raise my kids. I worked with the Little League because I really enjoy the village and I want to be part of the community. And I'm fortunate to be able to serve the Village of Scotia as a trustee to represent myself and my neighbors. This year, as with everybody, there's been a lot of unique challenges, and I am one of those ones who lost their job due to COVID and reduction in workforce. I still am looking for a job, and I would not change one of the votes that I've made throughout the year. Now that the ones I made last year, I would make this year as well. They support the village. They allow for my family and my neighbors to have emergency crises happen, identified and attended to as fast as possible. And I've had it happen to me with my youngest, where I was holding my youngest, he was turning blue, and I had a response from our emergency response and advanced life support within 3 minutes on my deck. Dan Harrigan was one of the first people there who happens to own a home just around the corner. He was one of the first people there as well. I cannot put a number on that response. I cannot say one of the meetings here, I was with the mayor. The mayor saw one of our mutual acquaintances had called 911. He showed me the pager. It just so happened to be one of my neighbors. He showed me the neighbor with the name and the address. By the time I was calling my wife, our response was leaving because we hear the door come up. Our response was leaving within a minute 30 seconds. They were leaving, and by the time I got off the phone with my wife, they were pulling up to their house. So it's really something that I cannot put a number on, and I will happily pay for every time. And I will vote. You know, I did vote for, there was a lot of truth spoken in the social media, and, you know, they're right, you know, to quote some of the ones, you know, revenues are staying pretty much flat, and we don't have a lot of space to expand. We don't have a lot of commercial opportunities that the town of Glenville has, where they can, you know, obviously have a larger commercial property come in. So there's a lot of truths that were spoken tonight. I don't think there's anything that was said. There's a few things that were a little bit misguided, but a lot of the things that were said here tonight and over the past couple of weeks, you know, via the social media, that's not where we're going to legislate. That's not where we're going to respond. But we do pay attention. We do see it for sure, and we want to respond accordingly. And this is one of the places we do it. So, you know, the revenues are kind of flat. The expenses go up. That's the way things are. Expenses go up every year. To expect something to get cheaper or to stay the same amount when you're talking about the things we have with a career fire service, a career police department, dedicated department, public works and parks department, and really kind of it's unique. And again, there wasn't anything that was said that's not true. It's very unique to have what we have. It's very unique to have the services we have, and to be able to pay for them is the question that everybody has to answer. I happily will do it, and I think the majority of the residents of the village, and I still believe that today, will do the same thing. I do, however, represent everyone in the village, including the ones who have challenges understanding or in the values or the monies that are spent to have them be in place. So I represent everybody in the village. So I look forward to the continued conversations about how we can do it and how we can make the revenues go up. Trustee Cook and I, not Mayor Cook, the trustee Cook, and I have had a few conversations too about some opportunities we talked about before, between annexation, between, you know, finding different ways to entertain commercial properties to come in to take up some of those vacant storefronts. And also there's also conversations about, you know, seceding from the town. Some of that stuff was talked about tonight. We're not ones to go immediately to cutting people. We're not ones immediately go to cutting garbage. We talk about them every budget cycle. We say these things come up and, almost immediately like, well, geez, my neighbor doesn't want that to happen. Our garbage, where it's over 500, don't remember what exactly, it was $585 million. I think that was last year. The cost to each individual household is less than $20. So to replicate that, what we get for garbage, I've put out 7 or 8, not to go against the letter you sent out recently, Tom, but I put out 7 or 8, open 55-gallon drums of I can lift them and they're flat and they're not messy and they go away every week. And as long as you follow the guidance of the spirit of the law, you could put a mattress out every week, and that's 52 mattresses a year. And we get those things for that one service. I already mentioned the fire department and our emergency response, 3-minute response time. So to pay for that this year, I am paying $15.13 more a month. Some of the people who commented online are paying $25 a month because their houses are assessed for more. Another person who had some really large comments about, who's very vocal over the years, who lives on Fifth Street, they are paying $7.16 a month to continue to have the services. There was also a mention of the successful leadership of the town of Glendale. I really hope that the same people are as granular when their budget time comes up again, and they look at really what's being spent up there for what are they being spent for. Another individual who I have been to their house once, and I've talked with him and his wife, they are paying $10.07 a month. And he brought up the question of what do we get for our town of Glendale taxes? And I believe what we get to enjoy is they collect our taxes, they pay them to the county and the school district, and we get to pay some salaries that we don't really have any benefit from. So I look forward to all these conversations, and I'm very much willing to talk about the futures and what we can do to do better. I really don't think that we failed. I think we have done a good job at keeping the services intact that we have, which I think are representative of the majority of the village of Scotia. So, but I very much represent everybody. And I personally, in my current state of affairs, am very willing to pay my $15.13 a month, even though my household is looking at $27,000 a year. So I thank you for it turned into a lot longer than I wanted.
Thank you, George. Joe?
I want to thank all the public residents for coming out tonight. It's nice to see them come out and give their opinion on things. Back to we are going to have our car show. We had another meeting the other night and we're moving it forward. We're working with the Elks, Scotia Glenville Elks again, and I hope the weather holds out for us. And it should be a big turnout. As far as the county liaison, the county is really pushing their vaccination. They're trying to get as many people in there as they have shots to get everybody to get their vaccination, and they're really working hard on that. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Ellie?
I just want to speak about the budget for a minute. I was the only one on this board who voted against the proposed budget. It was a very difficult decision because I want to make clear that I appreciate all the services that we have, the DPW, the fire department, the parks, the police. And I appreciate them for always being there for the community. But I do think that there's some movement on the budget, and we didn't vote, and that was the reason. So I look forward to the meeting next week in which there has been discussion about reducing some of these costs and lowering the increase for our residents. I think it's important that we just take another look. The board as a whole has made that decision. I felt that it was appropriate for further discussion. And hopefully we can all look at it and make some very good decisions in lowering that increase. I am happy to hear about the garbage. And I hope that the garbage decision stays put, that we do not have our residents pay an increase in garbage in the future. So trustee Solotruck, I'm very happy to hear about your support on that topic. With regards to the police department, I am the liaison. I did speak with Chief Harrigan. Good news with regards to 2 grants. The police department did receive notification of a body armor outer vest grant. It's about $2,100. They also applied for another grant, which is in the works with regards to officer wellness. And there will be more information on that in my next report next month. With regards to the police reform committee, I do serve on that committee. It's a continuing committee that will meet in the future once these laws and are implemented. I do want to point out that we had a diverse group that served on the committee that voiced a lot of different concerns, but we did have to file certification with the state. It was filed by April 1st, so we're all set there. And the police reform committee does welcome residents for their input, so I would ask residents in the village to reach out to Chief Harrigan with regards to that. As the mayor indicated, we do have 12-hour shifts. That was approved on our last meeting, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I believe that's working out great for the officers in our community. With regards to the town of Glenville, I am the Glenville liaison. I did have a meeting with the supervisor today, Supervisor Ketzley, and I want to thank him for his time. You know, there's been a lot of discussion with regards to consolidation and not shared services. And I want the people to know who spoke about, oh, just consolidate with the town of Glenville. First of all, it's not easy to do that. And my discussion with the supervisor at no time discussed consolidation. And I want the residents of Scotia to be very aware of that. I had my meeting with him today. We talked about shared services and how we both can collaborate for the benefit of Glenville and the village. And I want to stress that because there's been a lot of discussion about trying to reduce this budget and just consolidate the police department, consolidate the fire department, which you can't do. And the chief is sitting right across from me. Consolidate the DPW. At no time did we speak about consolidation. And I think that's going to probably surprise a lot of people on Facebook tonight. So I welcome those conversations about shared services more than the leaf picker upper, more than the plowing. Let's work together because it's time. The bottom line is the budget is the budget. We're doing the best we can, but I'm going to be outspoken on this. It's a tough decision, no matter who is sitting on this board. The budget is the budget. There are mandated contracts that we have to pay year after year. And if anybody was sitting here or there, we know that costs rise. When did the last time something get reduced in terms of an expense for all of us? Are houses cheaper? Are cars cheaper? Is gas cheaper? The answer is no. So we all come together, we all try to problem solve. This is what this board has continued to struggle with and will continue to do, no matter who is sitting here. So I am personally offended with a comment today about this administration. This administration does a great job. We may have different views, but our goal is the same. And that's whether you're in the village or whether you're in Glenville. We will work together. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Heather. Justin?
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Real quick from the DPW. Our DPW staff is active and engaged with the spring cleanup. You'll notice the street sweepers are out and about. And as you heard in the wonderful MS4 report, that's actually part of our wastewater mitigation plan. Last month, as well as a little bit this month, DPW employees were out patching, first cold patching and now patching some potholes, continuing to repair and maintain 52 miles of our roadway here in the village. You'll notice, as the mayor alluded to, the street light program, that's going to bring, that is completed. It completed April 2nd. It'll bring considerable maintenance and energy savings to the village. It'll save about $24,000 a year in energy consumption and another $25,000 in maintenance. And not to mention it's night sky compliant, which is an important environmental friendly compliance. It will take some time getting used to. You'll notice the big difference when you come over the Western Gateway Bridge, but it's wonderful in my opinion. Also ongoing is the linkage study. This is an important first step in our look at Mohawk Ave and our business corridor. The first study advisory committee meeting was held last March. It was well attended and some great discussion about what the project goals and objectives are for that program. The second study advisory committee meeting will be held in early May with the goal of launching the project website and scheduling of the first public information session. This is going to take a look at traffic flow, sidewalk and streetscape design of Mohawk Ave to better support development along that corridor. The Scotia Business Improvement District held their meeting earlier this week. You'll notice around the village of Scotia, our hometown hero banners are up. All our uniformed personnel in our fire department and police department are honored for their work during COVID. We're going to be working with the DPW supervisor to try to get some of our behind the scenes DPW workers to be honored in a similar fashion around our park, because we have to keep realizing that during the COVID-19 pandemic, they've been keeping our streets clear, garbage moving, and they've been essential first responders throughout this pandemic as well. So I want to congratulate them on their hard work and dedication, as well as to our village parks. That Collins Park was a blessing during this pandemic. Also, at the meeting, the bid meeting, was Andrew Kohout, our DPW superintendent, was there working with the businesses to discuss the linkage study as well. Here tonight, I want to thank Zach Calderon. So one of the opportunities we have as a village is to look at what we're doing in terms of green infrastructure, not only for savings, but also for being responsible to our climate and our earth. So I've talked to the mayor as well as Andrew and a couple other members of the board about really a need to have a citizen task force that's looking at green opportunities here in the village, whether it be continuing the proliferation of electronic vehicle chargers, use of solar technology, and with support of this board, I'd like to formally consider for a future work session that we launch that. Zach has stepped up, willing to help be a citizen lead on that. This will also align with NYSERDA objectives that will open up grant opportunities, which I think is incredibly important as we look at our budget situations. Lastly, there's been no action with the Zoning Board of Appeals, but I do want to just take a few moments of the time to address folks at home and those remaining here that I take my budget responsibility very seriously. Fiduciary responsibility and fiscal responsibility is more than just cutting every line item indiscriminately. Unfortunately, the tax cap legislation is an arbitrary number. 1.3% is what we are systematically required to stay under. Our credit rating at the village is not down. We've taken from the fund balance, but we can put ourselves in a position with creative local response to fix this situation. There is a lot of space between where we are now and the word that has been thrown around without much understanding, and that's consolidation. There is a lot of opportunity, and it's going to take the village, for it to be punny, it's going to take a village to find some of these solutions. And I'm standing ready to work with this board as well as the citizens to understand what the needs of our community are, to evaluate the service delivery that we provide, and meet these challenges head on. I refuse to curl up in a ball. I refuse to look at this budget situation as something that cannot be fixed. And I may not be able to get and mention every comment that comes to me over social media, but if you email me, if you see me on a park bench, if you call me, I've made a promise to myself and to every resident to be open, transparent, and accessible. And I was thrilled to see so many people here talking passionately about their concerns. I get it. The median household income in the village of Scotia is $52,000. When you're facing a tax bill all in with town, county, school, and village taxes, when it approaches $6,500 or goes up $11 a month, making your mortgage payment go up, I get it. I work full-time in the nonprofit art sector. I'm around that median household income. But fiduciary responsibility is not just about what the numbers say on a balance sheet. It's about what we provide for those numbers on the balance sheet, the value that we bring. I'll tell you, not one municipality in the capital region took time to invest in a drive-through food pantry. And the Village of Scotia has done 3 of them, with 112 cars each time coming from the Village of Scotia to go there. Our fire department has had to respond to more fires during COVID because people are home than you can think of. And could you imagine watching Captain Jones go into a burning building by himself to find a person on the 3rd floor deceased? I watched my best friend's house burn down on Washington Avenue. And the fire department was there putting out that fire. And I couldn't imagine not allowing them to have safe staffing levels. That is what we pay for. There was a baby abused recently, and our Scotia police officers who also function as detectives were able to bring justice for that infant. So we cannot quantify return on investment. Is there opportunity to do better? Is there opportunity to be strategic? Absolutely, which is why I proposed and will continue to propose that we enter on, starting May 2nd, a strategic planning process that will allow us to figure out what services the village needs and will continue to provide, what services can be shared with the town of Glenville. But if we as residents are willing to entertain the idea of consolidation, we must do it smartly, but we cannot ignore the fact that there's also other opportunities like incorporating as a city. If we're willing to go that far, we should be willing to go as far in the other direction. So thank you for everyone for your engagement, and I look forward to speaking and meeting with each of you.
Thank you, Justin. Item number 20, departmental reports. Anybody like to move, we accept them?
I move that we accept the department reports with thanks.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 21, budget adjustments for the month of March. Somebody,
I'll make a motion to accept the budget adjustments for the month of March.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 22, audited claims. Anybody move to pay the bills?
I'll move that we make a motion to pay our bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to doing 23 through 29 as a bunch?
No objection.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings, March 9th, March 10th, March 10th, March 15th, March 29th, March 30th, and April 6th. We've been busy, really.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 30, does anybody have any new business?
We talked about it briefly on our next work session. I do want to take a look at the curfew and the notices in the park.
Okay, so can you send me an email so I got it on there for sure? Or Maria, do you have that? Okay, good enough. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So be it.
Hate to make a new record. Thank you, everybody, for coming.